When I'm walking down the street.
I do want to say to Doni and many of you in this room that over a very long career in this city, all of you have helped me and my colleagues tell the truth and to try to tell.
I may not look like you and you me, but
Take my hat off.
I'm from South Carolina, so I just...
What does this event mean to you, Miss Peggy Mars?
Oh, my heart,
Happy 20th anniversary.
my heart is about loving up on my sisters. Do you know what it feels like to have your sisters in the room? Don.
And dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. I am beautiful, I am blessed, but not just what you see in the flesh. I'm free from people, free from myself.
The doctor lived next door to the janitor, to the reverend, and the lawyer. We were together. Now we get so high and mighty that you create stress for your society because you don't like poor black folks either. That's a health problem. Get yourself together so I can stop being taking care of geriatric people and get back to pediatrics. I thank you, Doni, for all you've done. Let's keep doing it for all the more.
Letting His glory shine through. Dare to be you, dare to be me, dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. And I dare you, I dare you, I dare you to be you.
First name's Doni, last name's Glover. In it to win it for the long haul, baby. So this is a very special week for most people. Mother's Day, the most important person in our world. My mom has been gone 39 years. 39 years. And let me tell you, it's not a day that goes by that I don't think about it. But this week, with all of that aside, because I'm not alone, but there are a lot of mommies who's still here. Today, we're going to talk with the one and only Dr. Stacie Eadie. She has a new book out. Well, it's relatively new. And it has everything to do with better understanding our child and the whole process of parenting. Dr. Stacie Eadie, good morning.
Good morning, Doni. How are you?
I'm doing good. Maybe I should give the official description. Should I give the official description of the book?
Sure.
Well, bear with me a second. I'm just messing up, trying to multitask over here.
That's okay.
Your book has been out a year now?
Actually, it was in the making last year for the event. We launched the book last year, actually up on Amazon as of October.
Okay, so Dr. Eadie has weaved a wonderful story of how she arrived. Mothers of Black sons. This is the topic. Mothers of Black sons face many challenges, from systemic racism and discrimination to economic inequality and limited access to healthcare and limited access to education. These challenges can create a sense of fear and unease for mothers of young Black men who worry about their children's safety and future prospects. Maternal Instinct. What made you write this book, Dr. Eadie?
Wow. Well, first I can say how I started, because I know, I'm a physician. So, besides thinking of research, I never saw myself writing a book. But I went to a book writers boot camp and found myself there, actually in the room with some really great writers such as Zane, LaJoyce Brookshire. And I was asked, what would you write your book on if you were to write a book? And at that time when I went, I just went with the idea that I want to write a book, but didn't know. So she said, let me reword that. What is your passion? And that was how the book came about. And when she asked me that, within 2 seconds, I knew what my passion was. My passion was Black sons. And just raising my son, I had been speaking with lots of mothers. I am afforded to speak to thousands of mothers every day. and particularly
As a pediatrician.
as a pediatrician, and particularly when I have conversations with Black mothers, I find myself behind the door and letting down that veil when they discuss with me some of the fears that they have with some of the issues when they're raising their sons, things that their sons might encounter that are a little unique.
Doc, I'm gonna bring it to you. This weekend past, a Black man who I've known long time came up to me and said, I tried to take my life. I think that is at the core crux of what you're talking about.
Yes.
This what's his name? J. Cole. I'm just learning about J. Cole. Don't laugh at me. Last year I learned about Kendrick Lamar, but J. Cole has a line that talks about the line escapes me, but in essence of what it means to be Black and male in America.
Yes. I think we just move on, and until there's a tragedy or something that really jolts us, we give it a 5-minute conversation, but really this conversation is an issue that was created centuries ago, right? So mothers have been facing this since probably when they were snatched to be on slave ships, wondering, we know that, where their children would be separated from them and how they would be treated. And in the book I do kind of walk through a little of history and some of the distinct places for Black people in history, and discuss some of those issues that Black men were the target of, and still are the target of.
Let me just throw this in there, because I am in your unique fraternity of authors. My second book is I Am Black Wall Street. I'm looking for it. Oh, here it is. And I just got to put it out there because we try to stay historically sound, that we as a people of color, not all of us came here in the bottom of a slave ship. Some of us were already here as indigenous. So some of us, our descendants could be better characterized as descendants of enslaved people, and others could be described as descendants of prisoners of war.
Absolutely.
Either way, we were on the losing side.
It didn't even matter. Even if you come from somewhere else and you were born into a system that isn't like the system we're in, and I speak of that too. So this book is not just for African American mothers. This book is for any child that can be identified to look as Black, is what I'll say. Whether you come from the Caribbean, whether you come from Africa, this book can be for social workers. It could be for judges. It could be for. It could be for.
We've talked about India. I mean, certainly, if you've gone through med school,
yes.
If you've gone through any kind of school, if you've just lived in the world, you've seen India, and they got very light-skinned Indians. And they got very dark-skinned ones. And them very dark-skinned ones, the untouchables, the Dravidians, they deal with all kinds of issues simply because of their complexion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I definitely, as being a medical student and resident, I have learned alongside various, like you said, I guess we can use colors of Indian students or residents at the time, and we do assimilate a lot, and we recognize our similarities.
Well, let me tell you something. I love all people, and being Black and in America, I'm used to walking down the harbor. I'm used to walking with my daughter across the harbor. Mm-hmm. And I'm used to walking towards groups that might be all white. It might be 7 to 8 deep.
Yes.
And I tell her we're walking straight ahead. Do you understand what I'm trying to teach her?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're telling her.
We're not being rude, but we're walking straight ahead. I want you to not get it twisted, little girl. She thought I was buck wild crazy out of my mind when it first happened, but I'm trying to teach her something.
Have to.
You will not move for anybody.
That's
You
right.
give them the same respect that they give you. Because some people, there's one thing dealing with racism, white, black racism. But on that note about the Indian brothers and sisters, I'll be damned if I'm tolerating it from them. We've got 400 years dealing with this black-white thing. I'll be damned if I'm dealing with this black-Indian thing at all.
No. No.
You
And
might
it's
have to call the bail bondsman for me.
Yeah, and that part is real as well because, you know, like I said, you could see it, you know, amongst them.
When
as well.
somebody comes here after all your people have done and just disregards you, because we down with the caste system.
Caste, yeah. No more caste.
We ain't having none of that
None of that. Mm-mm.
at all.
Yeah.
Where you think you coming from or where you think you at, but you about to get a wake-up call.
It is real.
I'm just keeping it real with you, Dr. Eadie.
No,
This is mental.
it's real. And
This is mental health awareness month. How does all of this work together?
So with the book, or you know, with
All of it.
I touch upon, you know, the mental health of Black boys, and actually just us as, you know, as a Black people, if we want to talk about that mental health is real, and that I feel that sometimes we may pass by the system, you know, and say, hey, no, you know, I don't need this. You know, I can just talk to this person or I can talk to that person. But we have a lot on our plate. Every day we are encountering different racial issues, whether it's something social economic, you know, whether it's healthcare. You're just trying to go and be seen and you're not seen. We suffer from a lot of hits every day, and we don't realize how some of that can tap in to our health. It breaks our health down. It, you know, it really can get us in a place of while we have disparities in our own health ourselves, you know, personally, diabetes, hypertension. Why not? Because we're being hit with these things every day. So the mental health side of it, I encourage, I don't think it's a bad thing for anyone to speak with a mental health provider, have someone as a therapist to speak to. That might be a friend in some ways, but sometimes we're in a little deep. And like you said, you had a friend that told you that was that friend reaching out. Sounds like he was at that point, because males sometimes they don't reach out, and it can be very tragic. I'm
not that dude. I'm gonna call you and say, Dr. Eadie, help.
I'm serious. Like, call me.
Hey, be mad at me for calling at 3 a.m, but I am gonna pick up that phone. I know there's a smarter time to call, but sometimes emergency, that's the nature of emergency. It's not like you planned it.
No. And I get those calls, not mental health all the time, but that's what I do. So a 3 a.m. call wouldn't be abnormal for me to receive. So no, and it's real. But
what do you want our mothers to know as we go into Mother's Day? We're here in Baltimore. You're from Baltimore and Baltimore, but we see the violence. We see Fox News that's always got something negative to say about Black people, whether it's Marilyn Mosby, whether it's Brandon Scott, whether it's Sheila Dixon. Well, they like Sheila Dixon these days, but they trashed her name for several years. Everything that's on Fox tears down Black people every day. Mm-hmm. And they loop it. So if you missed it at 7 o'clock, you will catch it at 8 o'clock. And then you got the people that come on and they want to talk about religion and all of these things about the Middle East, as if black people don't know anything about Judaism, Christianity, and Islam when we were the first to develop these religions. So this world and media, we got to watch what we say. Facebook even want to lock up black people. I had a page on Facebook with over 200,000 followers. I'm not a racist, but all of a sudden, kaput, the page was gone. So they even putting black people in Facebook jail. Black people make up 13% of the American population. Black men alone make up 35% of the people in prison. This country represents 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the world's inmates. What do you tell a black mother?
So first, Doni, what I'm going to tell a black mother is definitely to purchase this book right now, because I discuss it all. I talk about justice. I talk about education. I give strategies as well in the book. So at the end of each chapter, you'll find some pages like this where I actually break down some actual things that mothers could do because this probably is for more the informative years. You know, you could take it through to the latter years, and maybe that'll be part 2. But we want them to have a good basis, and we want to get rid of that mentality of preschool to prison. And that's the whole point, because we want mothers to advocate early, know what to do. That's what I do every day. When mothers come into my office and they're coming in for one purpose, they're coming in for the purpose that the school system sent them because of behavior, I stop them right there. And first I talk to the child and I ask them what's going on at school. And sometimes the issue is, something, it's a reason that they're acting out.
Oh,
and,
it's something small.
Something small, yeah. And most times it's that as well. But they come out saying, they'll tell me, I'm a bad boy, and I'm like, oh no, you're not a bad boy. We're gonna turn that around. And I have them come up with a plan. Tell me what you're doing wrong. Why are you eloping from school? Why are you trying to elope at school in the kindergarten or first grade? Tell me why. Well, they'll give me their reasons, and then I'll give them a couple reasons. Like, why is it not safe? Why is it not safe to leave out? Let's talk about that. And then let's find out, well, Mom, did you even know this was why? But because the pressure that the school puts on the parents, all they see is the behavior. I said, so how much school did he miss now? Well, he was suspended last week for 3 days, and 5 weeks ago he was out for. I said, no. We're not missing school. We're there to learn. We're there for this. So we're going to work on, I'm going to give you some strategies to do, and I'm going to send you somewhere to help with the behavior. But what I need you to do is be an advocate for your child. And now we need to go into the school and we need to have a conversation on how do we make this in a positive, because we can't, every day that they miss out of the classroom, how much learning is that? How much, missing out of their education and keeping them back? How much is that affecting how they feel about themselves? It's a lot. And so
Dr. Eadie, as you're talking, what comes to mind is Dr. Andres Alonso, when he was the CEO of Baltimore City Public Schools. That monster got rid of 75% of the principals in Baltimore City Public Schools.
Wow.
These are the principals. These are in many cases, black women, the big mamas, who graduated you,
yes,
and graduated me. This monster, we as a black people allowed this monster to come to Baltimore City Public Schools under Martin O'Malley, and he traumatized our school system. When you get rid of 75% of the big mamas, and then you bring in these Teach for America people who don't love our children, they put them on Ritalin. They threaten these mothers and fathers we need to put your child on some medication. What do you tell them, Dr. Eadie?
When they come in, first off, that's not always the answer to everything. Now, you know, if that isn't an ADHD issue, that the attention is the issue, but a lot of times that's not it. It's what I feel, like you said, the classrooms are different. I don't think when we were in school there was anything different with the way our brains were strung, and I feel that the classrooms were set up differently. The teachers were more equipped and knew what to do when there were situations, and we didn't have these kind of problems. I don't know if it's the oversizing of the classrooms. Is it the, like you said, the principals just having a certain way of being told that they should deal with things? I'm not sure. But what I do know is that as mothers, we have to advocate. We don't let people determine what the fate of our kids are. That's what I do know. And how do I know that? Because I'm raising children myself, and I have a 21-year-old, and I stayed, and they hated when I came into school because I'm coming. I'm going to be there, because everyone gets labeled, not just your kid. And that was the conversations I had behind my doors. I've gotten calls about my kid, and no, I'm going to be there because we're going to figure it out together. He's not going to miss time from school. No, he's not. But we're going to figure that out.
As you're talking about that, Dr. Eadie, and this is somewhat related, but it's family. I just heard that as it relates to when our loved ones, particularly our seniors, go into the hospital. Take somebody with you. Don't let your mother go to the doctor alone. Don't let your daddy go to the doctor alone, because they're doing all kinds of little slicky, wiki, woo-woo stuff on our parents. Next thing I know, my daddy on 14 different medications. Huh? Who the hell gonna get healthy off of 14 medications? I don't believe it. We also have to be an advocate for our loved ones when it comes to the medical system too, don't we?
You better. And I will sit here and say, I might walk in like this. And if I walk in with my tennis shoes or my sneakers on and my jeans, I understand what's going on. But when I start talking the talk, the care gets, it's a little difference in the care. And it's like, well, it shouldn't be that way. And I've had conversations with physicians because I don't agree with that. And I know, because I've trained in it. And, I've always been an advocate. I'm going to speak my mind if I don't feel that something is being done correctly for all people. I have my own practice for that purpose, because I need to control my atmosphere. I can't be somewhere where my patients, because I have patients of all colors, but I can't have a place where certain patients don't feel comfortable. So the only way that I could make that happen was to say, no, I'm going to have my own practice, so that, we can set the tone, at least, that, you feel comfortable coming in the door. So,
Doc, you have to deal with, in your profession, people don't even realize it, the history of medicine in America. There is this noted physician named J. Marion Sims. He is considered the father of gynecology, even to this day. When this rat bastard used to experiment on Black women without anesthesia, how is it becoming a doctor in a system that's wrenched, that's embedded with sexism, racism, and I don't know what the word is, stupidityism or ignorance? How was it? We lose
1
it.
minute. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. Now, what was your question?
How was it becoming a doctor in a system where people like J. Marion Sims, a rat bastard who experimented on black women without anesthesia, is regarded as the father of gynecology? Or you think of North Carolina and the sterilizations by the thousands that was sanctioned by North Carolina government, or even the Tuskegee experiment, and this never really dawned on me. There were black people who were complicit with it.
Well, in the book, I give history.
Medical apartheid, they call it.
Yes, Medical Apartheid. It's a book. It's an amazing book. So I do recommend everybody to read that. My experience I speak about in the book. I give my history and my story. And I speak about my days being in medical school and it being a few of us and the ways that we felt during certain lectures, say for STDs. And we would be in the classroom, in the auditorium, we might be dispersed around the room, but it was very uncomfortable because every genitalia that popped up with an STD would be a black genitalia, or, anything negative, anything, it would pop up and we would just peer across the room at each other. And I talk about us, kind of pursing our lips to, like, how we do.
Like
And
only black people get these diseases. That's what y'all. That's what you white people are. That's the picture you white people, or you racist white people, are painting for black people. Thank you very much, you stinking racist.
But you're training. The part about it is that these are the people you're training. So these are not people that are already physicians out in the world seeing, but you're already putting it in the minds of those who are delicate, who you're training, that this is what you should think of when you see, a person that looks like this. And it was very uncomfortable. And we would look at each other like, I don't believe this. And yeah, we believe it, because then you go into training and you might see different things that you don't agree with. And I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem, like I said, speaking up. I had to report a chief resident for being inappropriate with an African-American woman who was unconscious. And I went to the top, and I was a student and I didn't care. And I went to the top and he was chastised. He came back to apologize to me, but I told him that could be my mother. That could be my neighbor. That could be my sister. And I don't agree with what you did. It was inappropriate. So, it's only 2% of us, unfortunately. And that's why it's important that we train our kids that they can go into any career. They feel that they can go into any career. I started a mentoring program called Underground Pipeline to Medicine, where I was going to my alma mater. And it started out with 1 or 2 students just, coming to me asking if I could mentor them. Then it turned into about 30. And I was like, whoa, I have to do something different. So I made this mentoring program, found about 25 of my colleagues so that they could each have one-on-one mentoring with these students to get them to the other side, because we need to see more Black and brown physicians and scientists and dentists and everything else, but they have to know the way, and they just need sometimes someone else to talk to get them there. So we had a whole program, dentists, pharmacists, any of my friends I could think of, they would come and say, I have a friend that wants to go into dental school. I was like, hold up, I have a friend who's a dentist. Let me get them in the program. And now these students now are in medical school. I have several of the students who made it over. We read over their essays, and we coached them through interviews and things like that. And this is what we have to do, because we have to do this for our children. And for the next
generation?
Yes.
Who did it for you?
No one, unfortunately. And that was the reason I found the need for it. Because when I went on interviews, I didn't have anyone to guide me through that process. And I just remembering it being so gut-wrenching, the feeling of going in and not knowing what to expect, or knowing when I wrote my essay, you know, who could help me get around that. So these students now have better chances, and now they don't have to stress over the process of getting there. They just need to worry about, once they're there, keeping focused and doing what they have to do. I'm the one on this side cheering, talking about when they say, oh, I don't think I'm gonna be able to go, my MCAT scores is this. Oh no, you're going. You know, they just need that talk. That's all we need sometimes, is that I can do this. So, you know, it's
and do they understand that it's their job to pass it on?
But the key, and that's the key, that's my only ask. I don't ask anything else. Yes, I'm here for you. I said, but for me to be here for you, the only thing I ask is that you make sure that someone else or more get through. Just as I helped you, you reach your hand back and help someone else. That's my only ask. I don't ask for anything else. No recognition, no nothing. Just
you know what comes to mind as you tell that story is Harriet Tubman. The scene in the movie where a young man who wants to go for his freedom gets scared. And she pulled out that Colt 45 and she put it right in his face.
Yes.
And it's a reminder, you know, a lot of us don't realize how much our women, our mothers, taught us to fight. A lot of us, we learn how to fight from our fathers, from our brothers. But that doesn't mean that a woman, or Harriet Tubman, couldn't teach you how to stand up for your people or whatever. My mother told me at 3 years old, Patterson Park and Lambell, don't come in here crying.
Yeah, that's
I'm only 3 years old. That's what I would say now. Yeah, you got to stand up for yours at 3.
Yes, I got that story. But yes.
We're going to take a bit of a pause, Dr. Eadie, and bring in this young man. His name is Jermaine Jones, and he wants a minute to go ahead and plug his campaign. Say hello to Dr. Eadie there, Jermaine.
Hello, Dr. Eadie. Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Jermaine, you're running for office. We're in the middle of early voting, and you want to say something. So we're going to give you the floor and let you do your thing. Is that all right?
Yes, please do. Thank you. Thank you.
And then we're going to get back to the show. So welcome to the show, and go ahead and do your thing. We wish you the absolute best, and thank you for supporting Black.
Yep. I just want to remind everyone, you know, early voting is going on today. The city's at a critical time. Decisions need to be made. Who's going to lead our city? And even more importantly, who's going to lead your council district? So I just want to tell everyone, come out and vote. Please participate. My name is Jermaine Jones. I'm running in District 12 in Baltimore City. I'm a labor leader, currently working as a labor rep, representing, fighting for construction workers, where I make sure they all receive health care, a living wage, a pension. I also started a pre-apprenticeship program for our high school students, so they can have a path with those same construction careers. And before then, I was a community organizer fighting for our neighborhoods around community benefits agreements and local hiring, making sure Baltimore City Baltimore City residents are working on these projects. I've been fighting for working people in neighborhoods my entire life. We'll continue to do so in the city council. And just want to say, please vote Jermaine Jones if you live in District 12. But most importantly, vote and make sure you stay active in this upcoming city election.
Well, Jermaine, thank you for joining us. Tell me about that project labor agreement real quick.
Yeah, so often when developers come in and ask for tips and pilots from the city in these tax breaks, there aren't necessarily guarantees that neighborhoods or you know, Baltimore City is going to get in return. So what I've done is what they've done in other cities is have these developers enter into a project labor agreement or also a community benefits agreement, which then holds that developer accountable to certain guarantees to the neighborhood, such as a certain portion of local residents being hired, such as also a certain portion of apprentices being hired, and also them investing in apprenticeship programs. So people from neighborhoods who historically may not, you know, have access to these construction opportunities can get the training necessary that they deserve as well. So
was Port Covington a good deal?
No, I mean, look at it now. I mean, $660 million. Do you feel like you've gotten $660 million worth of, you
Heck
know,
no.
exactly. And I was actually there fighting that night when they passed the TIF in order for it to happen. And we're trying to get the city to develop the vote no. Unfortunately, we was dealing with a council that a lot of them already lost their election. It was a lame duck council. They wasn't coming back to their, jobs. So a lot of them voted yes, without those same guarantees that every neighborhood, that every neighborhood should have. They picked off one neighborhood, which is what, the SB6, and gave them a few crumbs and said that that was enough. But obviously it wasn't. From what they promised to what it's becoming now, mm-mm. It's not
Jermaine Jones, we got to get back to the show, but thank you for joining us, and we'll send you a link for tomorrow, okay?
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. You have a wonderful week.
Yes, sir. Dr. Eadie, we got a comment for you. I don't know if you want to touch this. Gaddafi opened medical training school free for African Americans. In order to be eligible for the scholarship, you had to go back to your community and practice. Racism is real. Thank you, Dr. Eadie. This is why some in white America don't want DEI. What is DEI? Do you run into that in your work, in your line of work? DEI. I mean, that's a cute little word for racism, right?
Well, yes, definitely.
Don't let me get you into no trouble, Dr. Eadie, but I'm staying with you even if we do. But I've been wanting to say that for like DEI. What's this thing? We're woke now. All of these little buzz terms. Oh, Dr. Eadie,
Yes.
You not black, you BIPOC. What the what?
I've never heard of that one though. You'll have to explain.
BIPOC, Black Indigenous People of Color.
Oh, okay.
You're not black, you're BIPOC. Pump the brakes.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Now that one, I missed that memo. But, in medicine now, even for training, they are having physicians and medical care workers do certain training for, like their diversity and to improve the quality, because they know that there is racism in healthcare. And so they're making us take courses, which for us, we're going, well, like me, I'm like, we do this every day. Like, yes, no, who would do that? Who would
There
say
should be an exam. And if you pass the exam, then you don't have to take this dumbass course. But if you fail the exam, you should have to take the course 3 times.
And I agree. And somebody should monitor and be able to, because my whole thing is, we're taking it, but who's monitoring? Who's monitoring if it's working? Who's monitoring how the patients feel when they come into your facility and once they leave out? That's the key. You can test all day, but if the quality of the patient care hasn't changed, and if it is biased, then the patient should be able to tell that.
Now, Dr. Leonard, you know I'm a jokester, right?
Yes.
So you're sorority. You a Zeta?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you see, you took that real well. You took that straight on the chin. Now, I'd have been cussed out for saying something like that. You're AKA.
Right, I'm an AKA. My niece is a Zeta, but I'm an AKA. Yes, I'm a part of the Divine Nine. Yes.
Now, I've seen, you're real cool. Let me tell you, I've seen some sisters that I ain't no damn AKA. I ain't no Delta. You better get Donnie Glover. You messing with me. No, much love and respect to all of our sisters. What I'm getting to is how has selling the book, you've done a lot of things, but selling a book is unlike going to med school. It's unlike working with pediatrics. It's unlike anything you've ever done, presumably.
Yes.
Is that true?
It's very true.
What have you learned?
At least for me, I thought it was just myself, that it's out of my realm. It's been an adventure, a learning experience. I have been blessed, since you bring up sorority. My sorority did do like one of the Ivy Leafs, which is our main publication. They did an article, or not an article, but a couple pages on authors. And so I was able to get my name out there. However, it was right before I published, so unless someone's going back in, it makes it a little difficult. So it has been a journey. With the book, the funny thing is the book for me is just the initial conversation that I wanted to get started. I just want to start this conversation with mothers. I want it to be passed on for generations. But my real focus in the end is that I really want to make change in the community. And so, that's why I am, doing the second annual Mother's Day brunch this week, because I want to get mothers together, just so that first off, we can celebrate one another in a space. We're going to have Dr. Lonnie's Bias. She's the mother of the late Lynn Bias. She's the keynote speaker. And this is the second year, so just kind of pushing that up some. But I just want to start to bring awareness to it so that we can start to make a real change. I want to go wherever God takes me with this project. And I'm hoping that he takes me far enough that in the end we can look back and say, hey, we're making changes for Black boys in our society, so that when we look on these news stations, that they can't sit there and just only have negative things to say, because we're going in to make the change, that we're either not going to listen to your show, and we're going to, make you put positive things on your news stations as well. But also we're going to make changes in the community and make it where our sons feel that they're not isolated and that no one really cares. Because by the time they get to the age of 18, now they're on their own, and they have to deal with these things without anyone else to kind of surround them and kind of protect them. So that's what I hope. Yes. Mm-hmm.
What advice do you have for parents of an 18-year-old young man who just came out of Baltimore City public schools, or who just reached the age of 18, coming through public or private school? Any specific advice? Or put differently, can I tell you what I tell them?
Okay, well, tell me, and then I'll give you my advice. Tell me what you tell them.
Get them out of Baltimore.
That part can definitely, that would definitely help. Definitely showing them on the way up to 18 other opportunities. Take them, even if you just go for a drive. It's not about money and spending money when you go places, but just showing them different places in the world, to give them a more diverse background of where they can go, where they can be, where they could live, and not just in Baltimore. My thing, that was a very key question that you just asked, and it really hit right here for me, because another thing when writing this book, I realized it was therapy for me, because I didn't realize a lot of my fears surrounded some of my life experiences. And I will tell you in the book about 3 young men that I lost in my life between the ages of 18 and 19. So when you say that 18 and 19 period is so important, it can be tracked. I lost 3 of them. The first one, I was in college. And when I was in college, I lost one of my best friends I grew up with since I was 5. Her brother was killed here in Baltimore by police. The second was one of my younger cousins who grew up in the PG area, who was killed by a friend. And he was in college at that time, his first year in college, and was killed by a friend from DC who wasn't in college. And then my third person was another one of my cousins who had graduated from high school and was killed here in the streets of Baltimore. So for me, this isn't just a book. This book, I want to save lives. This book is meant for mothers to use as a guide, so that, they can think about all the things. I throw health in there, I throw education in there, I throw, ways that, sports and activity.
The sound, I can't hear you, Doc. Maybe you got to come out and come back in, Doc. Testing. Yeah, I can't hear you. I know it. What can go wrong, can go wrong. It's okay. We're gonna kick you out and come back in. So we're talking with Dr. Stacie Eadie. She has an event coming up. It's Maternal Instinct. It's this Sunday on Mother's Day. And we're talking about her book, Maternal Instinct, and the things that not only a mother, but a mother who is a doctor, who is a pediatrician, what she goes through in teaching her children and in teaching other people who are parents. We've talked about being an advocate for our child as well as our seniors. There we go.
Now, sorry about that.
All good.
Yeah, so that part of that stage of life, I mean, you hit that on the nose, that it is so important.
I was sitting in the kitchen. I was in a boarding house. I was only in Atlanta 3 semesters. So that 2 years, I still thank God it changed my life to go away. Because mama said at 18, you're leaving. And I was like, okay, I was all for it. But the most popular kid in the neighborhood, I was at the kitchen table in Atlanta. And I got the phone call and he got killed. He was selling drugs right around the corner. And that's something that I wanted to get to in this conversation. Still got a few minutes, is that no one told us. They told us, but they didn't tell us. They told us, don't do drugs, don't be around drugs, stay away from drugs. They told us that. What they didn't tell us is that people you grew up with would be the players, would be the characters in this movie, because it was almost like the drug dealer, you're going to see them coming from a mile away. The drug dealer could be your best friend who made the decision one night, I'm going to try to sell this cocaine. We found ourselves in a regular neighborhood, Bacon Moreland, the general neighborhood, Coppin State. And yes, around on Warwick was cocaine and heroin. What we didn't know growing up a block away, 2 blocks away, was, especially as a child, is how deeply entrenched some people were in that cocaine and heroin game. And you don't realize this is life and death for some people until you get older, that some people actually have to put a hypodermic needle in their arm on a daily basis to feel normal. But when you're growing up, all you do, you see, this guy slick, these people, they got money, the girls like them, you want to get a girl, so you better get some money. You might choose that right or you might not. But all of these decisions as a young man, as a young woman,
yes,
in Baltimore, these things are thrown at you at lightning speed. And I'm talking about, for me, I'm damn near 60. I'm talking about 40 years ago. I'm talking about right now also. Right now, you got kids on perks, addicted full-blown at 16. And they say, I'll stop with this. I ain't a dope fiend because it ain't heroin. But we know that Percocet got, and then the fentanyl out of China, 90%. And then we fighting wars in Afghanistan, who happens to have 90% of the poppy seeds. These children grow up in a world of lies.
So you kind of hit on all of the topics, all the fears for mothers. Like, that is every mother's fear. What ifs, because you can't control that. That's one thing. You can rear your child, you can tell them what not to do, you can tell them not to touch the stove, you can tell them, but in the end, their peers have more,
influence.
have more hold on them than what the adults in their life have. And so environment is so important. So when you say to leave, yes, absolutely. Even if sometimes they're in another place, but it's they're uncomfortable there. It's not a place that they would just, feel so comfortable like walking out and going down the street on the corner. When you're in someone else's city, you don't know that city, so you're not going to be apt to just, do the things you might do being comfortable at home. And that is true. The drugs, all of that, Doni, we know that was all a plan back when we were younger for all of this to be what it is today. The only thing is that it's crossed to the other side. And so
how could they think they could poison one group and it not spill on them? They're white addicts in my alley as we speak.
Yes, it's spilling over. So now, but now that's why we have all these things in place. We're doing
it's an opioid epidemic.
The opioid, right? So now
it's opioid.
Everybody has to learn about Narcan. But back in the crack in the pandemic and the epidemic with crack, people were just dying.
And Nancy Reagan said, "Oh, just say no."
Just say right. No. This was all a plan.
Ronald Reagan, Highway Rick, Freeway Rick, whatever his name, dumping crack in the black neighborhoods. Dumping it. Guns, crack, dumping it. Destroying Baltimore. Destroying countless cities.
Yes. But it's crossing everywhere now. So that's why.
This is what people don't know, Doc. China lost Hong Kong for 150 years because of the Opium Wars. They just got Hong Kong back in 1997. Today, 2024, 90% of the fentanyl comes from China.
Wow.
Do you think they have an axe to grind? You think they've got a reason? You took their number one moneymaker, Hong Kong, for 150 years because of the Opium Wars. That's why we got to know our history.
That's why it's so important. Yeah.
Doctor, tell us about this event.
Oh, okay. So on Sunday, it's on Mother's Day. It's called the second annual Maternal Instinct Mothers of Baltimore Empowerment Brunch. We will be having Dr. Lonnie Bias as the keynote speaker, mothers coming in. But I would like to offer 2 of your listeners tickets to the brunch. It has a value of $100. Ampersy, it will be at the Ampersy. And we are looking for, it's from 11:30 to 2:30. Last year we had it at the Embassy as well. And we're coming here, the Embassy, right on Thames Street, right at Bond Street, right there, overlooking the harbor.
What's on the menu?
Oh, well, we're doing a buffet, but definitely you got to have some chicken and waffles. And, it's going to be a whole spread of different things, but we definitely had to add the chicken and waffles onto the menu. So yes.
What do your besties say about this Maternal Instinct outing?
The brunch. Oh, well, number one, your friends are always going to be your greatest supporters. So they are so excited. They're excited for the event, for myself. And they've been here for the whole ride. They know me. This is just another channel on things that I do. I love doing things for the community. I've never stopped when I was able to. Once I got out of medical school, my whole thing is all about the kids, about mentoring. I've started my own mentoring programs. I've helped with church mentoring programs, my sorority mentoring programs, whatever it is about youth, that is me. And so when they see this, just proud because they know my heart. And so they're excited about it.
What has been your experience being, and you say 2% of doctors in America are Black?
Yes, 2%.
What has,
2% Black, yes.
What has been your journey being the only Black doctor in a room? Is it lonely?
It is. It is lonely. But I make it a point to be that representation when I am there and keeping the representation, if it's something that's being brought up, and I would say even in the pandemic, I had been on some lines with things that were going on with the vaccine and things of that sort. I'm going to be the one to ask the questions about and represent our community and say, well, how does that affect my community? You guys are getting this out first, the physicians, you're getting it out here and there, but when is it going to be passed out in Baltimore City, or how is that going to look? I'm going to ask those uncomfortable questions, because as I grow, I don't mind asking and worrying about, you know, any repercussions about it, because that's why I'm here. I wanted to go into medicine since I was 7. And now being on this journey, I've always said I wanted to go in to help my community. It sounds so cliche, but when I'm in the room, and if it's ever an opportunity where something comes up that it's going to affect my community, I'm asking the question. So,
Doc, you want to know when I took the shot?
yeah,
I took the shot because I've been watching it. I got anti-vaxxers over here. I got vaccines. I even got cussed out in front of my house. But anyway, I'm out Randallstown, Northwest Baltimore County, 90% black. And I see all of these white people at the Liberty Resource Center. That's when I took my shot. I was like, I'm getting mine. Because they coming from over there all the way over here. And I don't see nobody from here. Oh, that's what I saw. And I said, I'm getting mine. I got 2 of them. And the second one left a big old red mark on my shoulder for a long time.
Might have had a reaction to it. But that was
sure
my
did.
room. When I saw the people who were, you know, adamant that they were making sure that they had the vaccine for them and whomever that they felt that it was, I said, oh no, I need to be at the table for this, asking questions. And, you know, when our sister was representing it, you know, I read the research, I had the questions that I had. And, you know, once I read the research, it made sense. You know, that's all we do all day is vaccines. So, you know.
So Doc, I gotta ask you one more question. Who did you see that made you want to become a doctor?
Yes. So my first physician was the Dr. Zalakoffer in Gwen Falls.
He was my pediatrician.
He was my pediatrician until I was about, I think, 5. He passed right before my mother passed, but my mother made it a point and took me to his funeral as well. And he was my first and really only pediatrician that I had the rest of my life who looked like me. And
so that's why I got to tell you about this lady right here. She is the first Black woman doctor in America. I know you already know about it, but this is for those out there watching. Rebecca Lee Crumpler, and she was she opened the doors for, let me make sure, yeah, Rebecca Lee Crumpler, first Black woman to earn a medical degree in the U.S. I can only imagine what hell she went through.
I can't imagine.
But you are a pioneer still, because they're not enough. You say 2%, that's got to be a lonely, that means you're in a room typically with white males in the topic of medicine.
Typically. And if I walk in the room, I'm not the doctor. If I walk in any room, I'm not the doctor. So, you know, that's the
so you
part.
constantly gotta dismantle a chump.
Yeah. So, you know, I still do to this day. You know, I'm always someone else, which is not a problem because we all serve for medicine. But I just want to make sure when I'm getting older that I can look up and make sure there's someone in the room who's there that's going to advocate for me. Definitely. I'm hoping all will advocate for me, but that I can look and go, oh, wow, there's someone else that's going to I can pass this torch on to, and that are going to look after the kids, the children, and also look after the elderly and adults later on in life that look like us.
Doc, where do you want people? Do you want people to call, go to a website? What do we plug?
I don't know. Can we do it through you? And then I can give you I can give you a code, a promo code I can make up for you, but I can't do it on air.
Indeed.
Give it to
yes,
you.
Yes, ma'am. I'll put it right up. If you need me, folks, you want to do 2 tickets, call me right away. Phone's right here. Dr. Eadie, we appreciate all that you do. Thank you for serving our community, our people, but the broader world. And thank you for being a light.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Doni, and thank you for all that you do for our community.
Yes, ma'am. Up to date, down tomorrow, do your day and everything will follow. Nothing to it but to do it. I got to do it, regardless of how I feel. I am somebody. I am my brother's keeper. Good morning, world. Thanks, Doc.
Thank you.